Curtains have opened up the auditorium to usher the performance of Pablo. Spotlight shines overhead. Director raises their thumb. If everybody's comfortable, I'd like to welcome you to the show. Thank you for waiting. Tune our own way. Feast your imagination on what you find. What will you find? Paz Babylon.
Paz Babylon.
Paz
I want to be forever young. I don't want to live forever. Guten Tag, willkommen, Schamlippen und Genitalien. This is Pabs Pablum. You finally found me, and I am very glad, because I've been looking for you for a few thousand years now. I hope your week was legendary, and I've always been a fan of the saying, men age like wine and women age like milk, because it's pretty true. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a woman with silver hair? It's almost as rare as integrity, intelligence, or bravery in our society. They're certainly afflicted with a chronic FOMO, and for the most part are perpetual teenagers. But I just want to talk about the men today. The man-child masses, because... Well, actually, there are some people that don't believe in expiry dates. They say it's all just food companies playing it safe in case you're soothing. But I firmly abide to expiry dates, because even the thought of eating something a day older than the age it's supposed to be is sickening to me. And so it's the same with people. Not that I eat people. And you shouldn't either. Get those thoughts out of your head. But that's basically what I've been thinking about. Just observing some things that were once cool and acceptable for us to enjoy, but which I feel, for the good of society and future generations going forward, must have an expiry date which we abide to. We must evolve rather than devolve. Which is what I currently see happening. And so, you know, without further ado, as always, do keep in mind that everything you're about to hear may well just be the reminisces of a... Once upon a time, wrestling was the coolest fucking thing on the planet, and I was fortunate enough to grow up in a golden age for wrestling. I remember when it was the WWF, before the Pandas got involved in copyright law, and we had Stone Cold, The Rock, the NWO, this microcosm of global politics, Kane and The Undertaker, that whole story arc, where there was fire and lightning flashing. There wouldn't be an out of place in the Indo-European pantheon with their abusive father, Paul Bearer. Kane would tombstone his brother, then he would just rise from the dead. It was fucking biblical. It was just this surreal parallel universe you would tune into as a kid, and you just see these huge steadheads in the trunks wearing bandanas, saying things that nobody says in the real world. If I ever lay my hands on them, I'll snap their little pencil necks. Y'all a jabroni. Now, I grew up what some people might call white trash, but that's ignorant. I don't like such terminology. I prefer bogan cunt. We're going to make this podcast big in Australia. I'm a bogan cunt. And if you're a fly on the wall in my house growing up, you'd basically think you're on the set of Malcolm in the Middle if they were raised by a single parent in a ghetto and you were a fly that had consumed a copious amount of acid. And we bogan cunts had our own wrestling matches. Me and my brothers had a roster with our own household belts, and we'd all do different moves. One brother would emulate the Big Show, choke slam everybody. Another was a fan of Mankind, had his own Mr. Socko, and his Mr. Socko was deeply poisonous. Let me tell you, that was the true taste of defeat. Another brother was a miniature Ric Flair strutting across the ring in his underpants, slapping your chest. My favourite wrestler was Ken Shamrock, and he was later a UFC fighter. But I just liked him because he was fucking crazy. And his special move was the ankle lock, and he'd continue doing it even after he tapped, because he just wanted to cause pain, and I liked to cause pain too. Let me tell you something about me, baby lamb. When I was a kid, I was a fucking savage. Honestly, I was a savage. I was actually the hardest 4-year-old on the planet. And you might be saying, yeah, but Pab, aren't you a faggot now? And obviously, yes. But in my heyday, I was invincible. Truly, I was the toughest 4-year-old the world has ever seen. Hercules, jerk me, please. Oh, but Khabib Nurmagomedov wrestled a bear. Listen, if Khabib ran into me as a 4-year-old, I'd have made him into my bear. I would have made him do some tricks and join the Moscow State Circus. I'm told I used to bite strangers on the bus when I was 4. I have no memory of it. This was all before my memory had even formed. But violence was just at my core. So I used to like fighting everyone, and I'd annihilate them all. I was ruthless. So I felt me and Ken Shamrock were kindred spirits. Another guy I liked was Sting. Not the Geordie, the wrestler. Imagine that, just kneeling on the ring canvas, going, "Every breath you take," like fucking Derek Chauvin. This thing had a face paint, and his finishing move was the sharpshooter. So I was a submission expert. And when I think back on it, tangling and all those submissions was actually just like a rudimentary jiu-jitsu, little proto jiu-jitsu. And I had several screws loose, so since my other brothers had already laid claim to the other belts, like the heavyweight and the intercontinental, I said, well, of course I'll be the hardcore champion then. And then I heard a voice pipe up saying, nah, I'll be the hardcore champion. So I had a challenger, one of my brothers, and there's only a couple of years between us, and we decided there's only one way to settle the matter, and that's a ladder match. We'd had all kinds of other matches before. We had even had a cage match outside once when there was reconstruction being done to a neighbour's fence. But the ladder match took place indoors in our bedroom, and me and two of my brothers shared a room together. Let me set the scene for you. We had a double bed that was used as the ring, and to the right of that we had a bunk bed, and we'd use this as the top rope. Its ladder was the turnbuckle, and then we just had a single mattress with a leather casing on the floor. So if you were ever curious to know what kind of a masochist my mother is, now you know. And this was used for the outside of the ring. Like when we would leave the ring, we would do body slams and suplexes and shit on it. And then we had a wooden ladder. But it only had maybe 4 or 5 rungs on it, and the ceiling was maybe 10 or 12 feet. So you could just climb to the top of the ladder and then just immediately grab the belt and win. And we'd attached a belt. We'd attached a belt to the ceiling with some sellotape. It was the Smoke and Skull belt, I believe. Just a bit of a Stone Cold merchandise. A little plastic and polystyrene belt, which we'd recycle as all the other household titles because we only had one. Don't bogan shame me. And so we developed a rule that for every rung you step on, you have to wait 3 seconds before you can progress to the next one. So it would take the same amount of time as if it was a big ladder. like a real ladder match on television. So anyway, it was a hard fought battle. Blood was spilt. We hit each other on the head with planks of wood. He took out the ironing board at one point and tried to iron me, but the only thing that decreased was my acquiescence. You know, I wasn't going to lay down that easily. Eventually my brother did manage to tire me out though, and he made it to the 4th rung of the ladder, and the referee, my other brother, was counting down. Time seemed to slow down, and I knew I needed to take action. I should say that Jeff Hardy was another inspiration of mine at this time. I was fond of going airborne, and I always knew I was destined for greatness. I've always been an ambitious fellow, and I've always preferred having stars in my eyes than tears. So in one swift movement, I leapt onto the top bunk, and I could hear the cameras flashing, the fans chanting my name. I could see the news of my victory on the front pages. And then my brother reached his hand up to grab the belt, and I just leaped across like a fucking flying squirrel and did a front drop kick into the ladder while simultaneously grabbing the belt. And my brother fell and just twatted his foot against a piece of wood sticking out of the side of the bed, and ended up breaking his foot. And everyone was just freaking out, going, "Oh, what the fuck?" But I just took it in stride, strapped the belt to my shoulder, and gave it a little smooch. It wasn't the only time I broke a bone in my wrestling career. Actually, there was another brother, and I think, and me and that brother from the hardcore match decided to do a double clothesline. We joined our hands together and ran towards the other brother, did a double clothesline off a shed, and then we just heard him like hit the deck and go, "Oh, I broke my arm." I broke my fucking arm. Yeah, it was. It's pretty funny. So I was quite the bone breaker, and I'll tell you what else was a bone breaker. The mud wrestling event with Trish Stratus. You see, we used to have to stay awake till 1 or 2 a.m. in England to watch a pay-per-view event, and it was a rowdy affair. But make no mistake, when the mud wrestling commenced, our boners broke the atmosphere into quietude. Stiffy-backed silence, and we just gazed at the female form with absolute reverence. It was a holy affair, a spiritual event. I remember one year they wrestled in gravy. Someone made some noise rustling in a packet of crisps, and we all went, "Shh! Show some respect."
It's Thanksgiving.
And then I go to school the next day and say, "Hey boys, I'm going to get a hot poker and stamp my name into Trish Stratus's ass. I've decided she's going to be my wife someday, so hands off, yeah?" And my mates would go, "Oh, sound like that. I want Stephanie McMahon anyway. Did you see the fucking tits on Stephanie McMahon?" And then a random parent on the schoolyard would go, "Lita, what about Lita?" And then some other cunt would come along and go, "What about China? Don't you think she does a great job of challenging the heteronormative stereotypes the media enforces?" No, shut the fuck up. Shut your fucking dumb whore mouth. I hated China. China ruined my childhood. This fucking manhead. You can wax lyrical about her arm wrestling all you want. She had a mean powerbomb. I'm well aware of that. But also, she had the kind of clitoris that makes mascara run down your cheeks. If you went into her bed chamber, you'd go in looking like Goldberg and come out looking like gold dust. And I'm not saying this from a point of prejudice. I've seen it. Fucking X-Pac made a porno with her, and I saw it when I was a child. And it was already a bad influence because we'd point to our crotches in school and tell the teachers to suck it. But then I saw him blue in the face, getting suffocated by China's chipolata, this fucking creatine clit.
Yes, now you suck it. Deep throat it. Play with my flower.
Flower? Fucking mandrake. But surprisingly, that wasn't the straw that broke the camel's back. That happened when I was 9 or 10, and it was one of my brother's birthdays, the one who broke his arm. He was 13 or 14, and my dad bought tickets to see a wrestling event. You see, the WWE came to England for a main event one year. I can't remember the name of the event. I want to say it could have been Backlash. And it was a televised event. I think it was supposed to be in Sheffield. But my dad couldn't get tickets to it. He could only get tickets to the same non-televised event a day before in Nottingham. So it was like a rehearsal for the proper show with all the same matches. And my brother chose to take me along too. So we all got the train down to Nottingham. And we were excited to meet our heroes. But the thing was that because the televised event was the next day, we knew that nobody that didn't have a belt could win the match. So it didn't take Jake the Snake to come from beyond the mat to tell us that one. You know, they couldn't just win a belt and not televise it. So we knew it was all going to be fake and scripted. But anyway, it was a good time. I saw Stone Cold smashing his beers together. We'd done that many times with ginger beers ourselves. There was a couple more eventful moments. Someone broke the jaw. I want to say the wrestler's name was Rico. And he was fighting Rey Mysterio, but this was before he was a big name, and a roundhouse connected, and you just hear this pop echo around the arena, and the paramedics had to come in. And then Kurt Angle was talking shit in the ring. I think he might have been the champion at the time, and some random drunkard from the stands just ran into the ring with a can of Foster's in his hand, and started trying to keck him. And that doesn't mean he tried to make him laugh. I do have dual citizenship to Kekistan myself. You see, though I'm thousands of years old and have aged with grace, I do understand some Zoomer speak. I've been on 4chan before. I know what a meme is. Kek means pull down his pants. Oh, he means pants, Tim. And it took a good minute or so for security to enter the ring, and Kurt Angle was just fucking looking bewildered. And but the moment that etched into my memory from that event was when a wrestler called Big Papa Pump entered the ring. Let me repeat that. There was a wrestler called Big Papa Pump, and he started flexing his muscles on the top rope, and I heard some people in the arena. And I also want to mention that 90% of the audience in the arena were morbidly obese. If not necessary to point that out. But as Big Papa Pump was tensing his bicep, I heard a voice from behind me go, "Oh my, it's like a golf ball, isn't it? Oh, imagine if he was squeezing you." And I thought, yeah, I'm out. You see, I was violently homophobic as a child. I'm not now. God knows I'm a tolerant man now. But when I was a kid, I did not like it. I'm not sure why. Perhaps it was the result of a drama teacher I had. He was trying to be cool and down with the kids one day, which is a pathetic aspect of someone that refuses to age with grace, because none of the people they're trying to impress will ever have respect for them. And then he's trying to give me a fist bump, and his knuckle fucking stunk. Made my eyes water. I thought I don't want to get pink eye in the name of progressivism, so it may have been that. Perhaps it was just my own repressed desire to suck a cock eating away at me, though. That's usually the case when you find a homophobe as an adult, but the whole thing just terrified me, and I wanted no part to play in any of it, so, you know, since Backlash, I thought I better dip out before it leads to Jack Splash. I didn't want Big Papa Pump getting his hands on me, so I think 9 years old is an appropriate age to stop watching wrestling. The next nostalgic pastime that I feel should have an age limit, and this is a little bit more controversial, this one, and I think most people can agree with like the last, but this one's video games, because I have dabbled with video games in my youth, and they were incredible. We had a Sega Mega Drive, way longer than it was socially acceptable to have. Again, don't bogan shame me. But I used to play Sonic the Hedgehog, Bruce Lee, Enter the Dragon, Shinobi. We had some shitty football game, a motorbike game, but they were all phenomenal. All of them were amazing. But my favourite game of them all was called Golden Axe. It actually wasn't Golden Axe, it was Golden Axe 2, actually. We didn't have the first one. And you could go a guy in blue, summon dragons with a sexy bitch in red, or go a little green dwarf with an axe and ride dinosaurs and shit. And you'd have to fight skeletons. And then when you'd kill the skeletons, they'll go, bleh. So that was the noise of it, they'd go, bleh. And at the end of each level, there would be some hooded dwarves or something, if I remember correctly, around a campfire, and you'd have to hit them to steal the bread, and then you'd use the bread to use a special magical move. To be honest, if anyone has a Mega Drive and knows a way that we can set up a live stream, I'll set up a Patreon and go back on everything I'm about to say right now. I'll set up an OnlyFans and squat on a dildo while I do it, if you're willing to give me a quid. But, you know, don't get me wrong though, I know why people do enjoy video games. They are fucking incredible. I am aware of this. And there's so many talented artists that work on video games. A game's almost like a film now. If you play it through, there's a full plot with a script and actors voicing them. And I put on a VR headset once. Incredible. You know, just mind blowing, and the whole thing was fascinating to me. Just thinking about how much knowledge had to be acquired about the eye and the brain to make that a reality. True genius at play, but I still prefer the Mega Drive. And so, does that not make it all redundant? When you can get more fun from an RPG game from the 90s, why even bother with all the other advancements? Isn't that technology and creativity just being wasted on children? And I'm not saying all games are made for children. I remember I used to also play Grand Theft Auto. And this is a game you'll say isn't really made for kids. And it'd be funny when I talk to someone about that, because they go, "Oh yeah, the mission on like San Andreas is dead hard." Missions. If you played the missions on GTA, you're a much better man than I. That's all I can say. I'll tell you what I used to do. I used to stroll around the city for a bit at a leisurely pace, and then just jab an old woman in the back of the head. I'd get into a few fights with frail civilians just to warm up a bit, and then I'd jack a car, maybe listen to some radio, get a paint job and some nitro, and then just cause some havoc. Oh, but I've completed that game. Have you? Have you got a 6-star police chase, then got away with it? Went into hiding for years, changed your identity, because that's the game I'm playing. That's the true mission. So I think it's fair to say that some games would require you to be older. Perhaps 18 or 19 would be a fair cut-off point. At least playing them full time. My issue is that I can't fathom someone living a healthy, happy, productive life as an adult and playing video games. If I ever spend time playing a video game, I just feel hollow inside. I get uncomfortable after about 2 hours and feel guilty about not being productive enough. It all just feels like a massive waste of time. But perhaps there's a little bit of a grey area, like, you know, there are professional gamers now, like, and maybe you can find a way to make money from it. But generally, I don't think it's good for society for men to play video games. I think it's just more infantilization of society, and perhaps I'm swayed a little bit by my own biases here too, because as I said before, I am an addict. So maybe you can make the argument that they're not so bad in moderation, but I absolutely cannot do that. As I said before, I am quasi-spastic, so there's been times in my life where I've been playing FIFA and went on a career mode and weeks pass by, years on the game, and then at the end I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, this is a complete waste of time. And if you really want to know how insane I was as a child, because it goes way back to then, I used to have Premier Manager games at my dad's house, and you can't even play the football match. You just make transfers, then make substitutions whilst watching text commentary. Which I suppose is no less ridiculous than social media. Anyway, I did a career mode with Swansea City on Premier Manager 98, and they were in Division 3, which was the lowest division at the time. That's why I picked them, and I swear down, I got to the year 2052 with them. I won the league and the Champions League like every year with fucking Fat Ronaldo and George Weah banging in hat-tricks at 90 years of age. And that brings me swift segue onto my last one. And I'm sure a lot of people won't agree with me here. There may well be some pushback. But I want to say football. Now, I don't mean watching football altogether. More specifically, going to the match. I don't think anyone that's over the age of 45 should be allowed to go to the match without a child. And I know y'all may say that's a hot take, but if you want to know my real hot take, I think they should be publicly flogged and have their balls stapled to their heads. That's my real spicy take. Y'all let me know the Scoville level on that one in the comments below. That's for any man over the age of 45 without a child that isn't in the arts. I can make exception for the artists, but if the police kick down your doors and you're over 45 and childless, you better own a protractor and be documenting the measurements of an Assyrian girl's Cupid's bow, and have designs for some aqueducts, or you're in trouble, because there's no fucking way that that person isn't going to commit a crime. Why would they not? I refuse to believe it. So you're actually getting a mild version here. I've watered it down for you. I'm just saying they shouldn't be in the football stadiums, because I don't know if you ever went to a football match before. It's an incredible experience. It's like a cross between a church, a war, and a pantomime. And it's a true demonstration of will and belief in action, because you project all of your energy onto the pitch and make the impossible possible at times. It's really quite profound, but you see, in a war, you need noise, you need energy, you need willing, fighting-age men. I was too poor to go to the game as a kid, like most kids in the city, and I remember thinking that if I ever got to go, I'd sing my heart out for the full 90 minutes. Then when I finally got to go one day, I was surrounded by childless boomers going, oh, he's fucking shit. And then when I tried to sing, I would just feel like an absolute tit, because I was the only one actually trying to support the team. It's like, why are you even there? You're helping the other team win. That's all you're doing. The more noise that's made, the more intimidating the atmosphere is, the better the team will do. It's pretty fucking simple. And on a side note from all this, if any entrepreneurs in the football world are listening, any insiders at the club, why don't you just monitor the noise level in every seat, and then the fans that make the most noise throughout the match get a discount or something? I mean, it's pretty tragic, the idea of incentivizing support from the people who should be doing it anyway, but I really don't see a reason not to be doing that. Anyway, there's absolutely no point in having old people in the stadium. It's fucking dystopian, and we should all have seen how they end up by now. It's tragic. Every year in the FA Cup, they'll say something like, The last time Scunthorpe made it to the round of 16 was way back in 1932, and even back then, season ticket holder Cyril was in the stands. And then it cuts to this guy that's older than dust. You can't tell whether half his face is a neck, or if he just has 8,000 lips that are on his neck. And the interviewer asks him, "Do you remember the game, Cyril?" It was 2-1, wasn't it, Cyril? I'm on fire. Mildred, pop the kettle on. I'll give you another nostalgic throwback. The Mighty Boosh. That was a show I used to enjoy in my youth. Now let's talk about the Bitey Moosh. Let's get this guy some baby food. He shit his nappy. His gums agleam, just shivering, regressing on the terraces, and it's not a show I want to watch. Football is a game for children, ultimately. But it's just full of men with the minds of children. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those football fan channels before. Most of those people have kids, and they go to the game without their kids. It's fucking mad. I watched one once, and he was recording in his bedroom, and his wall was just plastered with football stickers. And it just dawned on me, oh, he's a 10-year-old with pubes and a mortgage. That's what you're watching. Because football should be primarily for kids, then teenagers and people in their 20s to make the bulk of the noise, and then parents that are there to take the kids to the match. So when you have a childless old person, they're really just taking the seats of children in the city. And watch any interview with any great footballer, they'll tell you about how the cornerstone moment in their life was when they went to the game and they saw their favourite player. So one of those kids could be a future star of the team. I say if you're an elderly season ticket holder, do the charitable act, do a charitable deed, and let's say 4 times a year, go to a school and put your ticket in a raffle for local kids to have your seat. And if all the childless boomers did a similar thing, it would be a fucking cauldron of noise every game. Have you seen how many scallywags are in the city? They're needed in the stands, but they won't fucking do it though, because they're childlike. These boomers, and to be a child is to be selfish. And then you've got to ask yourself, where are the sages in our society? I don't know about you, but when I'm an old man, I intend on being Gandalf. I'm going to have a long white beard and long hair, a white hoodie, because hoodies are really for old people. That's a thing we'll do again, like the druids. And then I'm just gonna smoke a pipe, maybe pack some DMT into it, blow smoke rings, and give as much wisdom as I possibly can to the younger generations. This is what we all must aspire to do in the future. We must break the cycle. But you see, that's not possible when you have the people that are supposed to be the sages in our society going to the footy and going, "Fuck you, Coutinho, you little snake." Because no one could ever respect that man. As I said, we have to be the ones to break the cycle and be role models for generations by aging with grace. Because that's a huge reason why this happened in the first place. Like if you ever wonder why so many boomers are fucked up, well, a huge part of it's growing up in the confusion of a post-war society, obviously. And the other reason, though, is that their role model growing up was literally Jimmy fucking Savile. And I've long said that the two greatest showmen of the 20th century were Sir Jimmy Savile and Adolf Hitler. You know, anyone who tells you any different is just suffering from sour grapes. But there's a video of Sir Jimmy on top of the pops, and he's just fingering a girl in the audience. He's just fingering some poor girl, and she's struggling. And he's like, next up is a song by my friend Mr. Gary Glitter with My Gang, Jingle Jangle.
Though I'm not great at introductions, while the pendulum swings slow, I will swallow my reluctance go, here I go, here I go. What's your name, what's your number? Together we can conquer this rock. If I put two fucking fingers inside of your pussy and two in your eyes, they call it the Spock. I would have the whole wide world safe in my hands while the rough seas tremble below. We could live long and prosper, baby, with my fucking hello. And then your eyes will say, I hope it was a greater pleasure knowing me as it will be knowing you.
Now the time has come to listen to the madness of the masses. If you'd ever like to contribute to this part of the podcast in future episodes, well, you have a few options. You could build a time machine using a traversable wormhole, accelerate into a fraction of the speed of light with some advanced alien propulsion system, and then take it back to your original point of origin. That should do the trick. And then when you're there, you can jump a few thousand years into the future, defrost my father's testicles that he had hid under a frozen cave in Antarctic coordinates. He was very specific about that in his will. Dig up my mother, shove a bollock in a cunt, put her in the microwave, then wait for a few revolutions for me to hatch. Or you could alternatively travel back in time to the epoch they call the Miocene or the Pleistocene or the Margarine and duel with some saber-toothed mammoths, converse with some woolly back cats.
Have you got any gravy? Some gravy for me chips. I like gravy with my kills.
And then you could clamber over a flintstone, hit Fred and Barney with a Doberman's bone, put your cock all around bedrock, become a gigolo till Bam Bam Bigelow plays high-low, jackalow, jackalow, high-low, and you sail away on a silo into the arms of a big cyclops-looking cunt, and he passes your message directly to my boogler. Or as always, you could just send your videos, questions, pics, links, twinks into pabspabulum@gmail.com and follow me across social media at pabthecrab.
Kick off.
King, I've been a listener since the first episode, and I want to let you know it is okay if you don't get an episode to an hour. My favourite episodes have been the 3-hour ones, so don't worry about it. You can still light a firework whenever you want, and I will always enjoy what you do. That's very kind of you, Squire. To be honest, I'm not actually that arsed about the time of the episodes. It would be nice to tick it off the bucket list. And I was convinced last week should have been in it because I recorded the first bit and then I was like, oh, it's like 20 minutes. It was absolutely, it's gotta be an hour. And then I listened back and I spoke about a fucking cobra for 40 minutes. So, that was a rookie mistake. But it really should have been last week. I did get it to an hour, but I said at the beginning, actually, you say you listen to the first episode. Right at the beginning, I was like, an hour and a half is what I'm aiming for. So I think maybe the last 3 episodes are all, within that. So yeah, I'm pretty content with it. But it's a weird one because I know what you mean with the 3-hour ones being the better ones. And it's also the least successful ones as far as the algorithm are. And I don't know, maybe they were a bit of a failure overall, because of the time when I did them and kind of like lost motivation by the end of it. But the thing is with those episodes, those 3-hour ones, kind of fucked me over completely because obviously y'all only get to see when the podcast comes out, so it's like, oh, it's just an hour just recording. But there's, shamefully so much more that goes into it all the time, and it's like, listening to it, and it's extra shit now. We're starting a clips thing, and I've like the editing and trying to get like bands and all this kind of shit. So it's like there's a lot more into it. So those 3-hour ones, it's like I haven't really recovered since then. You know what I mean? So it basically, what I thought is that I need to make an internal review of the podcast, which is what I'm always going to do because I always want to improve in the podcast. Now, it will be the best podcast on the planet. You know, we will unify Korea, but it's like in order to, I want to have a review every 10 episodes or so, and yeah, that's just kind of thing like how could I make those improvements? Because you see the point with again, you say you listen to the first, like you've been listening since the very beginning, an OG spectator. Well, it's like we've only done one Pabs guy, one art collection, and the whole point was like I wanted it to be like kind of a one-man variety show. But because I say it took so much time from those longer ones, I haven't really been able to do anything even in my life since all that time, and the things of figuring out editing and recording times and everything. So I'm keep trying to claw back those hours just to try to do more, because it's like I finish like one episode, try and put it out on a Wednesday, and that's the thing, I've fucked up a couple of times where I've had to put it out on the Thursday now for a couple of times, and then other times I put it out on a Wednesday and I'm like, I should have just waited till fucking Thursday, because there's imperfections that I see within them that I could have fixed. I could have edited things differently. But as I say, like I said before, I'm an addict. I've got an addict's brain, so I just got obsessed with it. And basically, I've been giving myself like 10 days to get the recordings. I'm like, I've got to get everything in. I've got to do this and this and this. And then I finish it on the Wednesday. But then it's like immediately after that, I get the questions in for the next episode. It's like I've started the next episode. You know what I mean? And that's the issue there. So again, I looked over those 10 episodes. I thought, okay, well, what's the solution? So the thing is like, I know a lot of people didn't see the questions this week for this episode. Also, I think we might be banned on, like shadow banned on Instagram. It's a whole other thing. We haven't had a lot of reaction. But yeah, anyway, that's because I changed the day also. So now we're gonna put the questions for the episodes on Saturday or Sunday from now on, because like I am a time lord, so I do know a little bit into the future. So that way, because I was reluctant to do that in the past, because it's just like, well, it'll be weird for you that you're gonna get the questions for an episode before you've even seen the next one. But I figured there's just really no way to do it, because I've got to keep trying to claw back that time, you see. And the only other way would be to make it like every 2 weeks, which I wouldn't want to do. I've got to try and get the recording down to 5 days. And then, yeah, it makes sense to try and get everything for that week, instead of doing the questions and shit like this last minute. Because you think when I do it last minute, it's like I say this is my favourite part of the week, when I interact with all of y'all, but then it's like, I guess no one wants to hear the complaints of the podcaster, the fucking the wizard behind the curtain, but it's like, it might be the last bit of time I have to record in the week, and I'm just fucking knackered, and I just want to go to sleep, and I've got to like respond to shit. It's like, you know what I mean? So sometimes you'll ask like great questions, and then I think, oh fuck, I should have really elaborated and give 100% to you, but I just can't do it sometimes, because it's the last thing. So yeah, it just makes sense to me to try and make that now the first thing, this part, in future weeks, and then that way I can put more into fucking around and editing with this bit. I'm going to try and record the main bit in 5 days, instead of going like, I've got to do everything and put it to 10. So yeah, you're going to see kind of me try to normalise the idea of it being 2 segments rather than 3, which is what I give you in the first 10. Because yeah, it's like I kind of spoiled you with the first 10. And it's not like say from my perspective, it's like I want to do 3 segments each week. The only thing is that I want it to be different. So it's supposed to be a variety show first. So we could have like a Pabs guy too. We could have art collection bits, and I've got other segments and other jingles I'm working on also. That's the other thing that's like time consuming that you haven't really seen yet also, so it just, seems like bullshit to all of you, but it's like I'm working on other things for like other songs to incorporate, other jingles, other segments, this kind of stuff, and it all just takes time, so it's like I need to keep doing that, but I would like to like have a different segment each week for the third bit, because there's a couple of these episodes where like I could have put in a pet peeve, but it's like, why am I like putting my back out to have this third segment when ultimately the quality just keeps decreasing? That was the thing with like finishing it last minute all the time. It's like I don't have time to go back and edit episodes. I'm literally like finishing the episodes at the last minute and then putting it out, and that's been like the last few episodes now, so I just want to change it. And then the other thing too is that again, when I was thinking about what I could do to improve the podcast over the next 10 episodes is that I need to kind of succeed outside of the podcast, because to be honest, I've not been able to do anything in my life without, again, just the obsession, like the kind of like obsession, like addict mind I have. I've just not been able to kind of live a normal existence since starting, which I never expected. I thought like I'll start the podcast and I'll have an announcement of some sort pretty swiftly, but I've not been able to do any fucking writing. I've not even been able to do any exercise, to be honest. I've just put well too much into it, and then I was thinking like that would actually be the coolest thing for the podcast, is that if I succeed and do something great with my life outside of the podcast, as well as say, don't take anything away, we will still, conquer the planet, but it's like, I just want to do all the things that I was in the process of doing, because I put many years into everything outside of the podcast, so it'll be much cooler for you all to witness that. And then if I tell you, it has more gravity to it anyway, because you'll go like, oh well, you'll kind of know more about me, rather than telling someone about the podcast, for example, which we kind of have to do because we're outside of the algorithm pretty much. We need people to, y'all to keep spreading the word and everything. But it's like, well, it'll be much easier to do if you, instead of just going, I found this funny podcast, right, it's just like a stranger and you have this tremendous podcast, and then going like, oh, but also, he's done this great thing also. So I have to kind of do that for the good of the pod, but I say it would either be a case of like I have to change it to do it every couple of weeks because I just don't have the time to record, or it's going to be I just have to like take a couple of steps back over the next few episodes in order for the future episodes to be what I envisaged them being, if that makes sense. I just need to normalise the idea a little bit of it being 2 segments rather than 3, because I know I can do that. I know, and then I can also put more into the editing for this bit and the main pod. So, and like anyone who listens to this podcast for the first time anyway, like all this is just going to sound like nonsense, like it's just going to keep improving episode to episode. But yeah, I mean, for the people who've been around since the beginning, that's basically what's happening. That's why the time's going to get a bit shorter. But it's not a case of like I'm not going to bring back the stuff we used to have. I say I want to incorporate more segments, more songs, more thongs, and just everything, it's going to be back in there. It's just about trying to condense it into the time, and then also in my personal life, like, because again, you know what I mean, that's just not fucking healthy. Like I need to it's just not sustainable. I need to be doing all the things that I was doing before the podcast again, and then I'll have some cool shit to show you hopefully in the coming weeks. But I say it all comes down to like the recording hours and just rescheduling. But now it's like I'm clawing back that time by changing the day I put the questions down. It's still probably not going to be like a full week that I have to record for another couple of weeks still. So yeah, don't expect too much in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, and then also like because again, it's like no one really knows what's going on with the podcaster's life anyway. So it's like, you know, even when I intend for it to be 3 segments, it's like, well, someone could die. You know, I mean, you could die, I could die, and then the podcast would definitely be a bit late. So no one really knows, you know, like, it just, life happens around the podcast anyway. So it just makes sense to me to try to normalize the idea it's going to be 2 segments rather than 3. And then when it is 3 again, it's like, it's not just always going to be pet peeves all the time, because that's what it had to be for a few episodes, because I didn't have time to do anything else. And the other segments that I have require a little bit of planning, you know, but I just had no time to plan, and no time to do anything, no time to, you know, write fucking fuck a corpse, whatever it was. I had nothing. So yeah, the next question was and the other thing too with it as well is with the time, I say, with other things I want to try to incorporate in the future with these like other segments and different things. But the other thing is to have guests, because everyone's been asking about guests since the beginning, like, oh, when are you gonna have guests on? But that's another thing with the time, because it's like, okay, I can get the time down of the podcast by myself, and I say that was the point from the beginning where I was saying I have to reduce the time of the pod. It's just because, like, I kept umming and ahhing all the time, which is another thing too. It's like, I've got no time to adjust my own speech and actually improve with my speaking abilities, and going like, oh, okay, I have to stop doing that, because I have no time to even do that. It's just record one and the next and the next and the next. So, you know, there is that. But when it comes to the guests, which again, I'm not sure we'll have them in the next 10 either. But at some point we will have guests, and I was thinking about it, like, yeah, I'm not sure that would be an hour, and I'm not sure that would be good as an hour, because it's like, you know, I can't control how the other person speaks. I don't know how it's going to affect the conversation if I try to get it all out as quick as possible and stuff. So yeah, I mean, yeah, at some point in the future there'll probably be like 2-hour, 3-hour episodes again, but more likely it could be when we start having interviews, that could be the case. But yeah, that's just the whole time. Your podcast is so unique. I also love your hair, and I'm excited to see how it looks longer. My impression requests: Arnold Schwarzenegger, Post Malone, Sam Smith. Well, yeah, I mean, with the long hair, yes, but it's a full. I'm still trying to express the full majesty of my phenotype. And yeah, I mean, it looks pretty Lord of the Rings-esque to me. But I have no camera. That's the other thing. Like, I need to address that. You know, I've only got a webcam. It's not really thumbnail quality, but yeah, it'll be updated, and I'm sure it'll you know, make your nipples harden. And looking at the impression request, I'm trying to think who Post Malone is, because I'm not really sure. So I'm just literally like googling as I'm talking. I mean, the disrespect of me. Oh, you know, I know who this guy is. Fucking calling me a psycho, peeling my potato. Zelensky's joining NATO. I'm hanging out in Waco. Reptilians from Draco, stealing my potato. You know, it's like if I had a face tattoo right now, I would be famous. Yeah, that could be your post. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay.
The year is 2023, and I'm scared of saying my own name. It's dangerous to say my name, because I might lose my job or my bank account. People say to me, when I go to AA, what is your name? And I say, hello, my name is Arnold Johnson. And they say, you look very familiar. And I say, no, my name is Arnold Johnson, and I am from Idaho.
And what's the other one? Sam Smith.
Piss on me. I have sold my soul and I'm here to corrupt your children.
Your Sinead rap had me howling, and rhyming arancini with beanie was honestly quite impressive. Ye would be proud. Check out the bars on this mad lad.
Если у тебя избит, я его убил. Black, can you make the fight cold? Не будь, пожалуйста, каблуком.
Russia or Ukraine? That's the big question. Yeah, Russia or Ukraine? I mean, he's certainly a mad lad. He's been, taking a few sips on Putin's plutonium, and with the fucking Sinead rap, it's like I was pretty proud of the arancini and beanie. And some people were saying maybe it's a little bit spicy putting old Voldemort in stripy pajamas, but the old noseless one. There's no pleasing some people. Well, the Undertaker just rose from the dead. He's pulling me deep into the abyss. Said his dad has a fist with my sphincter's name on it, so I better go channel my inner 4-year-old and slay him. It has been a blessing to have you enter my kingdom. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and thank you to all the contributors and that support the podcast in other ways. I want you to make your father proud this week. Chaos is crucial for order to exist. Don't resent it. Know that it has its own function and it has given you great creative power. But now you will be innovative in new ways. An innovator in innovation. Creating creatively creation. And this way your dreams will appear vivid. Their hues would confuse the sleeping, but you're fast awake. Lie up and rest your head on the sky. Don't ask what or who or when or why. It's just the mind's eye. The power of the pineal is real. Now feel the positive feelings flow. Let all your thoughts flow. Watch them rise and let them go. Watch them fall and be in flow. Watch over all and forever grow. You know what you must do, and you will. Relax. Breathe deeply. Sleepyhead, you're without a bed, and yet you can understand that your breath rises and falls completely by itself, without any need for your thoughts. Feel your pulse, feel your heart, feel no need or greed, both will gallop like a steed without you, without any need for your thoughts. There is no need to think when you already know. Let it be and be in flow. Shape the world to your liking. You have the ability. Moontime listeners, radiate joy into the deepest recesses of the galaxy. Sunshine spectators, let your smile become a crescent moon, illuminating the flora that flourish. You have my love and support. All you must do is sleepwalk towards your destiny. You'll return here next week 1,000 steps closer to it. Sometimes on the pod we get artists that send an entire album to listen to and just say, pick whatever you want. And this was the case this week. And honestly, it's been quite the head scratcher because I could have picked any one of them. I'm not bullshitting. I wouldn't just say that. Truly, every song had something that aroused me in some way, and it isn't often that happens. So I'm very grateful that they reached out, and it is an honour to feature them on the pod. These are true musicians hailing from Dortmund in Germany, and as y'all know, any friend of Jürgen's is a friend of mine. This one will melt your face, your ice cream, your mind. Be kind and follow them across all social media. Their name is Velvet Attack. You can find them on YouTube also. And the song is called It's the Dawn of the Summer. The album is called Visions from Inner Space. Check it out on Spotify. And it has the Pabulum stamp of approval. You know, if you're going to listen to anything this week, it has to be that. It's truly, truly spectacular. Wonderfully produced also. The whole thing made me bulge. Do keep sending in your own tunes if you would like to be featured on the pod. Like, share, subscribe, yank the bell end so you don't miss next week's sermon. Follow me across social media at Pab the Crab. We are the algorithm. Buy a fucking book. Educate yourself and know that the time for peace is upon us.
It's the dawn of the summer. It's the dawn of the summer. It's the dawn of the summer. And the rise of stand up, I'm calling for you. Let me stay for a while with nothing to do. All that silence around me disappeared for a day. It's the dawn of the summer. It's the dawn of the summer. It's the dawn of the summer. And the rise of today. Rain and storm inside me, I shake like the sea. The future's been on the past. dawn of the summer.